Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Video Mail for the week of June 10th, 2013. Welcome to the site to the new members and welcome back to the old. The Ask Video Mail is your chance to get your question in character, animation, or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your questions if I'm going to answer them, so please send your questions to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of this site. You can even send me your Maya file. I love to get your Maya files and open them up, even if you don't know what's wrong with it, if you run into a technical problem or you hit an artistic block, send me your Maya file. I'd love to open it on camera. That is also applicable to all the people who are on a free trial. You don't have to be a paying member of KennyRoy.com. If you're a trial member, please just send in your question. Why not? It's a great way to get involved and to get ahead in your workflow. That is the spiel. That is the shtick. I'm going with it. I'm going to stick with that. I am very, very, very happy today. It is week 3, day 1 of week 3 on collabs, and we are beginning actually to get into our trailer work. I'm going to be starting tomorrow, setting some animators loose on some shots and designing and working as we go. It's going to be incredible. What an experience we've had. What an experience. I've just had so much fun so far. This is an extremely new kind of thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, collabs.arconics.com is where you can find that out. I also wanted to give one more shout out to our friends over at CG Spectrum. They are still offering a really affordable way to get your animation worked on or worked with a professional animator. They have a Rent a Mentor program. Check out, there are 2 ads, one up here, one on the right side, and if you just navigate and check out their deals, tell them that Kenny sent you, you will get a discount. There is a discount for all KennyRoy.com members on CG Spectrum, so I appreciate you passing that along. And they're just great guys. Come on now. It is a, man, it's just, again, such an exciting week. I'm having so much fun. We're doing just so much, we're just doing so much here, and it just feels like, you know, like a really awesome collaborative environment. And I want to share that with you. If you go to collabs.arconics.com, you should be able to check out that there is a application form. We haven't officially changed the site to be applying for 2014's collabs, but that's what it is. So if you just apply and you'll get on the waiting list. And there is a waiting list already. There's already 20 people on the waiting list. So don't get left out by that if you missed this year's collabs as well. It's better to apply early. And we'll give it a couple months before we start going through all those and responding to people. But there you have it. There you have it. And another thing, if you are missing the webcast that we are doing on the homepage of KennyRoy.com, you don't know what you're missing. Maybe you do know what you're missing, because if you check out over here, there is a link to webcasts. Click on it. You will see the first 2 public webcasts that we've done, and I'm extremely proud of them. And it was just an amazing experience meeting my idol, Michel Gagne, who is working on his own short film called Saga of Rex, which we saw. We were the first group of people to see it. How awesome is that, by the way? It's incredible, and we were so honored to have him, and he really changed things up around here. It was really fun. So check out those webcasts. Those guys, those are there for you to watch. All right, free to watch. I'm just giving it away. I don't even care. And then, yeah, just follow me on Facebook and Twitter is the best way to make sure you don't miss any event here on KennyRoy.com. Don't miss anything that I'm giving away, or if I'm doing a live stream or anything like that. Just, you know, follow me there, and you'll never be left out. But let's get to the question today. I like this question. It's a little bit more artistic. It's got a little technical in there. Check it out. So, very, very interesting question, don't you agree? I'd like to start with an anecdote. Right when I got to Weta and I was on the crew for King Kong, right when I got there, I kind of like went around and I tried to meet as many of the other animators as I could. And that kind of freaked some people out. I remember people asking like, what's wrong with that Kenny guy? But I was so excited to be there, and I wanted to know where everyone else came from. And it was interesting. There was a lot of people that had come from a stop motion background. And I kind of, over the course of the film and watching their work, realized that a stop motion background is sort of the perfect transition between a traditional animation training and animating in CG. And here's why. All of those guys were ecstatic about the fact that they could, I mean, these are people that had like shot straight ahead on film for most of their careers, okay? So if you just acknowledge just how crazy that would, the amount of pressure that would be, being a great stop-mo animator in those circumstances is incredible, okay? So no doubt. However, what I'm kind of proposing is that there is a certain amount of, shall we say, discovery that happens when you have a digital medium. And so these guys were ecstatic that whereas before they would be animating and making little pose changes and trying to keep everything, and they would have, you know, video cameras, they would have like ways to like watch what they were doing, of course. But in terms of just like that instantaneous feedback, they really saw the digital medium as a way for them to just get so much faster. They really felt like it was digital stop motion, okay? But what is the thought? What is the theory behind building, for instance, a pose in stop-mo? All right, it's a lot more like it is in 2D animation than it is CG animation, just like right off the bat, isn't it? Isn't it like when you think about it, in 2D, you have to build the entire pose. There's no getting around building the entire pose head to toe because you have to draw the whole thing. In stop-mo, same thing. As long as the camera is shooting, you have to pose the whole character head to toe. And so all these things like layered approach and doing things kind of like, you know, like taking advantage of you know, all these kind of like fancy schmancy tools that we have in 3D. They didn't need it. They didn't even want it. All they were ecstatic about was the speed boost that they got, basically being able to slug in all their poses, retime them, and just like get that beautiful timing. But the way they blocked was still kind of the same way that they did stop-mo. I kind of noticed this. They didn't really think in terms of 2D, where they were, where you might like draw a character over here and then the extreme, the golden pose, whatever it is, and then like, you know, where they landed, and then maybe a frame to show like how it's supposed to follow through for the in-betweener, right? That would be the timing that they thought of, right? They're thinking, okay, I have all of this freedom now with time, so my posing is top notch, so I'm just going to slug in all my poses and I'm going to move the timing around, all right? I think that that is a better workflow to try to start using as a 2D animator going to 3D than what you may think that a 2D animator would do, which is take advantage of maybe a little bit more of the posing advantages that 3D has. Because in 3D, you don't have to worry about staying on model. You have a rig, and the rig is, in general, going to stay on model for you. So you can push pose, and you can really experiment with pose, and the timing, the fact that you don't have to have a drawing between frame 1 and 12 when you're actually drawing them is something that you're used to. Okay, hope that makes sense. So intuitively, again, you might think, when you are switching from 2D to 3D, that you might want to just do the same things, but here's the problem. Maya hates organic motion. And what you're going to get is you're going to get, especially if you're doing it like you are in 2D, where you have like a drawing on frame 1 and a drawing on frame 24, and you know you're going to have that character, anticipate and move on an arc and do something really, really beautiful and whatever. Man, Maya hates that. You're going to build this pose, and then it's just going to linearly, mechanically, in just a dead way, move over like that. Okay? So, that being the case, rather than learning all over how to contend with Maya's interpolation, screwing up everything, okay? And I used to say this. Let me interrupt this anecdote with another anecdote. I used to say this, and I was asked this question in an AM class once, a sort of similar question to this. And I said, imagine this. Imagine you're a lead animator at a studio, and you have an in-betweener, and the in-betweener's name is Maya. And Maya is this idiot. You hate Maya. Every single time you come to work, Maya is always waiting for you at your desk. And whenever you do any poses, you do 2 poses, Maya immediately takes them out of your hands and runs off and comes back instantaneously with in-betweens. And Maya is so proud of the in-betweens that are in his hands, right? Oh, so good. Look at these. They're amazing. And every single time, you're like, Maya, you idiot. Maya, why do you keep doing this? No, these are not right at all. These are not right at all. How discouraging would that be if you were, this is a 2D animation scenario I'm talking about. How discouraged would you be if that's what you had to deal with? You'd ask your boss, please, can you give me another in-betweener? Somebody that knows what they're doing, all right? Please give me that. Please. You'd beg them. And the fact of the matter is that is what we contend with as CG animators. It's almost as if we have an in-betweener that's assigned to us. We all get our own, but they're the worst in-betweener possible. They know nothing about organic motion. They know nothing about what looks good or beautiful. They know nothing about this, all right? It's actually kind of weird now that you think about it, right? It's like our job is very discouraging. We all arrive at work and we have to work 8 hours a day with an idiot named Maya who screws up all of it, like everything that's in our head. Like we lose it when we see how bad Maya's is. Like, oh, no, please don't show me anything like that, Maya. I have it in my head right now. Okay, so this is why we normally work in step mode. And what does step mode look like? It looks like stop motion. Beginning to see the parallels here, all right? So my overall advice is that if you are getting to the point where your transition from 2D to 3D has like hit a roadblock, you're feeling stuck, you can't figure out why a drastic change is not working for you, then I would say this. Start with step mode, of course, but start with a new approach as if you are trying to do stop motion for the first time, all right? Start by creating your poses in step mode almost just one after another. And then, as if you're a stop mo person from the 70s and 80s when we had no digital means of checking what we were doing, okay? You just had to shoot it straight ahead on film, right? That's what you had to do, right? Imagine you're that guy and then you're sitting down at Maya and someone tells you this is a digital stop motion tool. What will immediately happen is your poses will be as great as they are when you're trying to pose and time at the same time. They will. But if you take on that attitude that you're a stop-mo guy and this is a brand new tool for stop motion, then you'll be free because you'll be able to create those poses that will be just as good as they were before without the stress of having to contend with the idiot that's Maya, all right? And you'll also kind of change, you'll tweak your understanding just a little bit of how to experiment with timing way more than you would if you were just taking a 2D approach. Because whenever I've done very little, I'm not saying I'm an expert here, but whenever I've animated anything by hand, all right, I've always found that I can pretty quickly, fix spacing and whatever by throwing out drawings and just like redoing certain sections and whatever. And that is a completely different paradigm of working than fixing spacing with a stop-mo approach, right? So that would be my advice. That overall, how to make that transition a little bit better. I guess that was the anecdote within the anecdote. To go back to the first anecdote about Weta. So at the very end of the project, I had heard a long time before. I had heard, like all the way back when I was up at ILM. This was a long time before that. All right, years and years before. I had heard that all the ILM guys were very wary about what was happening to the stop motion industry, and that all the stop-mo people were going to suddenly invade, CG, and then we were going to have, basically jerky, animation and whatever. And to respond to the part of your question where you say you like the texture of doing stuff on 1s and 2s, that's even more possible if you have the stop-mo approach than if you have the 2D approach. I'm sorry to say, all right, because in 2D, again, what very limited I've done, what I found is that you're kind of taking this approach where if you're trying to add texture, normally it's adjusting something that is, for the most part, an in-between, right? So, you have this motion, and if you want to do like a little pop on the wrist or whatever, if you already have a drawing there, you have to throw it out. But if you don't have anything in there, you're doing an in-between, right? And then you say like, okay, well, I'm going to do another in-between. Before it's down, after it's down, and so then I have that little texture right in between. And so that's kind of wiggling into that parking space. You see that? Whereas in stop motion, you're going through and if you want that in there, then you can put that in there and that's fine. But then, remember, you're changing yourself into this gleeful stop motion person that is like the master of time. You can actually experiment with the timing of that texture, which is way more freeing than and has a lot more freedom than the 2D approach. Do you see why? Because when you're in-betweening, you're by definition locking in your choices in 2D. You do this kind of, textural kind of like flutter of the fingers or whatever on your arm stroke, right? If you did a very, very quick sort of blue pencil, even, very, very, very light version of this, and then you're going over it, even try to get exactly what you want, that little textural flutter of the fingers on that gesture, whatever it is. You see how as you're making that choice, you're wiggling into it. Whereas if you're using a timing experimentation approach, how it comes out is determined very, 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 very first decision with your pose. And then you're just building, you're manipulating time and having this, this flutter, kind of come before our eyes. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, please send me another Ask Videomail question. That is an expansion upon one of the concepts that I've proposed. If I do not answer your question, then send in another one. That's how this works. The content on kennyroy.com is driven by you. I do need your suggestions. I need your questions. Thank you for that awesome question. Please send more to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I love to get Maya files. Please send me some more Maya files. I'd love to open some up in the next couple of weeks. Don't forget Collabs webcasts. Watch kennyroy.com, Facebook, and Twitter to make sure you don't miss those as they come live. If you do miss them, they're in the webcast section right there. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for everything you guys are doing. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.